Today I am installing this screen in this room.
Buckle up for safety as I give you a day in the life of online. No, not online. I'm actually there. Facilities maintenance.
Why would you look at this? This warms my heart. If you look at this design of this little fence and this little gate here, this is a slightly larger version of what I built for them a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, over at the daycare.
And I can't help but feel that my design and build was inspiration for this one.
Okay, so the goal for today is to take that screen behind me. It's an electronic screen.
I actually installed one of these, a much bigger one, a couple of years ago, using the scissor lift and having to custom make a couple of mounting blocks up on the gym wall at the high school.
I put one in the drama room at the high school. They now want one over here. We built an addition this past year. It's an addition to the elementary school. And I am currently in the preschool. And that screen right there, they want on the wall up there. So that's what I'm doing today. Basically 2 components to this type of a job. There's the mechanical aspect of it, which is what I'm taking care of now, where I'm gonna pull this out of the box and then attach it to the wall up there. That's concrete, so I have to use my Hilti, which is sitting over there. The second component is electrical, and apparently there's a hub up in the ceiling here that I can access to pull power from. I'll just put it on the wall over here, mount the screen up here, and then probably run the switch there. However, that will depend on when I take this out of the box, which end the electronics are at. That is the bottom, so I just need to flip that like that, and then this top should just lift right off. You've basically got options here. You can hang them from these points, or you can bolt them to a surface. And I need to bolt them to a surface because this is a T-bar ceiling, and so there's no hanging anything from up there. So now I have to figure out the length, the exact distance from this point here to this one right here. If you watched a recent video where I hung a picture on the wall, actually it was a calendar with hidden hangers, I could actually do the same thing here, and I thought I might be able to, which is why I brought a roll of masking tape. Because measuring can be difficult in the sense that if I measure from that hole to that hole, and I am out by just 1/4 of an inch, this ain't going up. But I can use tape to landmark the width of my holes. Check this out. There's dead center of the hole right there. I made a little mark with a Sharpie. And I've done the same thing over here. Now, all I need to do is take this piece of tape and stick it up on the wall there and measure my height from the ceiling down to the mark that I made on each side to make it level. Yeah, if I was hanging something decorative, I wouldn't even check for level, I would just make it true. And what I mean by that is that I would make it exactly the same as that. A screen is a little different because the screen portion itself needs to roll up and down inside the housing. It has to be exactly level so that it doesn't try and track to the left or to the right. If it does that, if it's hung crooked, then it's always going to want to wind crooked, and yeah, that'll just wreck the screen. So the screen itself has to be hung dead level. Oh yeah, that is perfectly level. Nicely done, installer guys. So essentially, I can put this away. So here's the trick. Transferring this tape up there with one person would be much easier with two. And this is where I could always use well, I shouldn't say always. This is where I can often use a helper to do jobs like this, but I wouldn't need them for the whole job. I'd need them for like 8 seconds of this job right here. And then I could use them again to lift the screen up. And then I wouldn't need them again. Yeah. This is just an eyeball estimate at this point. I measured the length of the actual screen. It's 103 inches. There isn't really a true center here. Do I center it with the bulletin board, or do I center it between the edge of that cabinet and this defined area in the wall? There really isn't any right or wrong here. Just need to get it up on the wall, and then I can adjust afterwards. Well, you know, it's close. It's a little high on the left right now. But insofar as going to the left or right that way, I think I'd rather cheat left a little bit because the emergency lights are here. No, the screen won't really block the light if they're needed. Maybe I will move it to the right. Just a couple inches and try and level it out a little bit at the same time. Pretty close, actually. I'm going to take some measurements here. I think I'm going to go centered on the bulletin board. I can't hook this tape onto the end of that tape, and I don't have a second person here to hold it for me. So what I'm going to do is measure from the edge and center. So I guess finding the center of the bulletin board by measuring 120 and then 60 to divide it, actually I didn't need to do that. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Eight and a half inches.
Oh yeah, 8.5 inches.
One more measurement. Height up from the bulletin board. And I need to get level with my measurement here rather than looking up at it so there's no distortion. Okay, that's exactly 6.5 inches up. Six and 3/8. So check this out. That side over there was 6.5 inches up from the mark on my tape to the top of the bulletin board. This side was 6 3/8 where the little black mark is. So I just had to make another mark 1/8 of an inch above that. And now I have the exact spacing I need, exactly level, referenced off the bulletin board here. Time to set up to make some noise and a bit of dust. Okay, for this I'll be using my my Hilti, and I'm using 1/4 inch concrete anchors. So I'll be needing a 1/4 inch bit out of here, not the 3/16. I'm going to need an extension cord. One extension cord. Ears. Now, I don't always trust the depth gauges. What I like to do is I will make a mark with a Sharpie right on the bit itself for the depth that I wish to drill. So in this case here, you can see the mark there, and I am leaving myself about 1/2 inch of exposed threads from the anchor, which will give me plenty of anchorage to bolt to afterwards, while still allowing for plenty of depth in the wall itself for the strength that I need to hold this up. And as for that little shelf there, that is going to have to be removed eventually, but in the meantime, I'm leaving it there because it will catch all the dust from my drilling, and then vacuuming up afterwards will be so much easier. Just that easy, folks. Actually, the nice thing about dealing with brand new concrete walls like this is that they're so much easier to drill in when compared to the 28-year-old petrified walls we have at the high school. They've had a long time to cure. They're hard. So remember the old days when a gentleman would take his coat or his cloak and he'd lay it down across a muddy sidewalk for a lady? This is much the same thing. Because the ladies that we have in this class here are nothing short of royalty. I have another hot tip for you. This one right here. That tip is hot after drilling. So whenever I set my Hilti drill down, I make sure to set it down in such a way so that this tip is not resting on something. It will burn wood and it will melt through flooring. Hot tip. Just need to tap it lightly if you've drilled the correct size hole, and you can feel it when it bottoms out, so you don't need to beat on it really hard and deform this end. It's made a little bit smaller than the actual shank of the anchor itself, allowing you to be able to fit a washer and a nut over there and still thread it on correctly. Okay, now comes the fun part, putting that down there, up there. Before I do that though, even though I've been quite careful, I am going to double check my measurements, because what I don't want to be is stuck on a ladder by myself, holding that screen, trying to slip it over the anchors. This part of the job, I would advise you to get a second person to help you.
I don't always take my own advice.
Okay, I am hooked on the anchor on the far side, which means I go by the close side, or the first near side here. I'm exactly 102 inches. So let's go compare them with what the holes are. I'm feeling confident. 102 inches, like that's right to the inch. It's not like 102 and an eighth or 102 and a quarter. It seems to me that they would drill these holes to the inch. Let's find out.
When you're by yourself, it's hard to take an accurate measurement of something like this by hooking on the edge of here, because this hole isn't exactly centered between here and here either. So what I've done is just put an anchor through here, and this will allow me to hook my tape measure here and then run it out to the leading edge of here for my distance measurement, hoping that it aligns with my 102 inches up there. And yes, I realize that I could have done this in the first place. But I didn't think of it right away, okay? I thought of the tape thing. That's what I thought of. Well, that is ridiculously close.
Close? It's perfect!
We are going to be okay.
So again, because this shelf is here, I'm going to put it to use. It's anchored into the concrete underneath the bulletin board, so I think it's strong enough. And between that and my ladder, which is adjustable and I've raised it up higher, I'm going to set this projector screen up on there. Slip that over top of the anchor bolt and just slip the nut and the washer on there and just put it on a few turns just to keep that from slipping off. Bearing in mind that while the anchor is hammered in, it hasn't been tightened down yet. So the base of the anchor hasn't expanded into the hole. So if you yank on that hard enough, it could come out. Too tight up in there to fit a socket in, so I have to grab my wrenches. Success! So this screen is now mounted to the concrete wall with concrete anchors. Yeah, I'm very happy with the positioning of that. I'm happy that the masking tape hole aligner trick worked perfectly because there was zero margin for error. These are 1/4 inch holes. These are 1/4 inch anchors. Had I been out just slightly, I could have over drilled the holes, take that 1/4 inch hole and drill it out to 3/8, which would have provided a little bit of wiggle room, but I did not need to. It worked out just fine the way it was. So this ends the mechanical installation portion of it. The next step is to install the electrical side of things. And that is a different video altogether. And I say that because
what I did here applies to hanging anything on the wall.
As far as the electrical is concerned, it is located over on that side there. The giveaway for that being there's a little access plate on the end over there that I need to remove in order to access the electrical components and wiring within the end of the screen. But because the remainder of the installation is electrical and doesn't really apply to the what was necessary for the job that I just did, measuring, transferring those measurements to the wall, setting my anchors, hanging the screen, because the electrical component of that is specific to this screen, I'm not going to include it in this video because your mileage will vary depending on the product that you are using or installing, or you may never have to install something like this, but the principles that you picked up in the installation of this can be applied to many different things. So that's why I'm going to end the video here. I'm going to thank you for watching, and I'm going to say, see you next time.